You know that feeling when you're stuck in line and the other queue, the one that you did not choose, starts to move faster than you or faster than the one you're in, You try to act nonchalant, like you don't care, but inside your heart, you really do care. And, you start to question your life choices and decisions, second guess the reason you joined that queue. Um, I actually watched someone ruin his car right in front of me because of that. He joined the queue, which was not moving fast enough, and tried to quickly swerve into the other queue that was moving and hit his car on the curb, destroyed his beautiful new car. What? Here I go with the unnecessary side story that nobody asked for. Anyway, so that frustration you feel when you join one queue, but the other one seems to be moving faster. It actually has a name. This is a phenomenon called queuing theory. Queuing theory is the study of waiting lines, or more specifically, what happens when demand for something is higher than the system's capacity to produce that thing. So, for example, more people waiting to join more people waiting to check out their items in a grocery store than the number of counters we have. More calls than call agents at the call center, or more tasks than time. That mismatch of more calls than agents, or more people waiting to check out than counters, that mismatch is what creates the queue, because people have to join a queue so that the next person who is available can handle the next person in the queue. So that's what creates the queues. But the question here is, why do we hate waiting? Now, it's not just about the time spent waiting, it's actually more about the uncertainty that's associated with the waiting, okay? For example, if you knew how long something would take, you don't mind waiting because you have an idea of what you're looking out for. However, when there's no update or no feedback, time starts dragging. It's that things start taking like a long, long time. 1 minute starts to feel like 10 minutes because you don't know what's going on. And it starts to, stress you out both emotionally and physically because you just don't know. That feeling of uncertainty is where the problem is. So, this is why elevators have mirrors in them, to play to our vanity, because we are vain people. So you can check your outfit, look at your hair, make sure you look good. All of that time spent looking at yourself, you don't realize exactly how long you spent in the elevator. Or also why it's not, you walk into a restaurant and they hand you a menu. Now, every table is going to take a different amount of time to look at the menu to decide what they want. If you're someone like me, when I go in, I've researched the place already. I know exactly what I want, and it's usually pasta. I go in, I sit down, pick the pasta meal, I'm getting my pasta. Someone else wants to try stuff, right? So they're going to go through and think about it and have a conversation. All of those things help the restaurant to manage the queue, because the food goes to the kitchen at different intervals. Or you call a call center, and that annoying, very, very annoying music that they play. And there's this robot, AI, whatever, telling you, please hold, your call is very important to us, blah, blah, blah. All of that is to manage the queue, to manage the number of people trying to reach an agent. They don't love you like that. They maybe don't think your call is important. That's not what this is about. It's more so just to manage the queue, to make sure that people are getting in line and getting their service. However, when it's done badly, for example, you're in a waiting room and there's nothing updating you. Let's say you go to the RMV, okay, to get your license. Typically, they have a screen. When you go in, I think you should have an appointment. Typically, they'll give you a number. You go sit down. Now there's screens showing who is next. So that way you're able to check to know who is next. Assuming you went in there, there's no screen, nothing, you're just sitting, or people just join a line, they don't really know what's going on. At that point, you start to get frustrated because you don't know when it'll be a 10. It's like, okay, what's happening here, and how are we doing this? How are we going up? Are we all getting the same thing then? Are we getting different things then? So it starts to feel like very, very chaotic, and the wait becomes much, or it starts to feel much, much longer than it actually is. And honestly, it starts to feel a little bit disrespectful. So when you're waiting, you start to get upset and all of that. And sometimes you could actually feel like more emotional than you need to be because you feel like you've been forgotten, if you feel like you've been treated with some disrespect. Writing sometimes feels heavier when it looks like no one's noticing you, no one's paying any attention to you. However, when things are intentional, for example, you walk into a high-end restaurant and they're playing like really calm music, you're greeted, you're asked, I don't know, how are you doing? Table for two. Basically, they ask you what you want and all of that. All of those things are included in your wait time. They take you to your seat. They're like, hey, do you want some water? They give you water, bring you a drink menu, bring you the actual menu to look at. All of those things are managing time, managing the wait, managing the flow of guests, managing the flow of orders to the kitchen. All of those things are involved in it. Some will have a whole conversation with you depending on what's going on in the kitchen. But it also makes you as a guest feel like, okay, they're actually paying attention to me. That way, even if your food is a little bit late, honestly, you're not going to mind. So, it's not, when things are intentional, there's some structure, there's some communication, sometimes there's kindness. You as a guest tends to relax because it's not always about the speed of your service, but it's also about trust, you know, that comfort in knowing that, hey, they recognize I'm here. Hey, they notice that I am here. Kind of makes you feel good. And honestly, even if the food is not amazing, you would always talk about the fact that, oh, hey, they paid attention to me while I was here. And I knew that I was going to get, even if I was not getting good food or I did not get good food, I got really good service. So things like that are very helpful for us when we know what we're getting into while we wait. Knowing a little bit of the why makes the wait feel a little less annoying. So next time you're stuck in a line, and just take note of how you feel, right? And look at the difference of how you feel when you get an update. You just need a little bit of context to feel better about waiting. And you know what? Sometimes this is something I've noticed that helps me. It helps to self-soothe. Give yourself a possible reason for the wait. You know it's not true, or you know it may not be true. You know it may not be the reason, but just guess. Like, okay, so maybe I don't know, I can't board my flight because the pilot is not in yet. That way, you help to soothe your frustration a little bit. Again, you know that might not be the case, but you're giving your mind something to work through and to help to reduce the frustration you're feeling. Doesn't have to be true. You just have to give your mind something to work with. Thank you so much for watching. I had fun making this video, and I'll talk to you again later. Bye bye now.